Hello, hi, great to see you. Will here with another video. I'm gonna talk about today question. If you have never been here, I'm Will and I ask some questions, reflect on them, and share those answers with all you wonderful people in hopes that they will aid you in your conquest for the universe. Today, I am going to ask the question, how do you course correct? So, we all have goals, we have things we're trying to do. Some of us do, some of us don't. The thing some of us are trying to do is like chill, man, and like do less, and that's hard too. But when I think about trying to do things, something I really think about a lot is like, how do we course correct, right? Because as somebody who's attempted to do a lot of things and failed a lot, the thing I've learned more than anything is that you will have to course correct. You will have to make adjustments. You will have to make changes to how you approach what you're doing, because before you've done it, you won't know everything you need to know until you're in the thick of the problem, the thing you're working on, the thing you're working towards. We learn through action. We learn through doing. That's when we get real useful data. So, how do you course correct? I think something that really gets in the way of a lot of course correction for a lot of people, and it certainly did for me, is, I guess, the rigidity of my expectations. So what I mean by that is, like, when I go in and I expect, I have a plan, I have a little timeline of events, and I expect it to go, well, I'm going to do action A, and action A will lead to action B, and action B will lead to action C. Okay? In reality, life is not that linear. Life is not that coherent. So I'll go towards action A in my timeline, and then I'll get tired and I'll get distracted, and naturally I will go somewhere else, right? But then when I go to somewhere else, the plan in my head is like, but I said after I did action A, I would do action B. And then for me, and for you guys are like this, is I would judge myself for not rigidly sticking to the vague idea in my head. First of all, it often wasn't defined. Second of all, it didn't really take into account who I am right now, right? So if I'm like, well, I'm going to do action A, and then I'm going to do action B, right? So action A could be, I'm going to make this YouTube video. So if I'm going to make this YouTube video, what does it require to do that? It requires me to have an idea, some thoughts, things to reflect on, things to express, right? So historically, I might have assumed I don't need to write anything down to do that. But really, when we don't like look at something specifically and like break it down and think about it, it's hard to turn that into like a concrete idea which we can share. Like sharing it might help us formulate a better idea of what it is. But if we don't plan it out, or at least gather information we can use in the process, we won't learn. It's one of the reasons I make so many of these videos, because I only learn how to make better videos when I sit in front of a camera and make videos. So, big part of course correcting, more than anything, in this process I'm outlining of like expectations is how do we like feel about what we're doing, right? If we have these expectations, we don't meet them, we have this rigid idea of like, hey, we must make this stuff by this time and it must be this quality. Be careful at how you define the quality category, because we have this idea often, I notice, and I've had this historically, of like having kind of a vague impact we assume and feel the thing we make should have. Right? So if I write a song and I listen to it, I feel like it should have some kind of like revolutionary impact. It should like meet my idol's level of amazing competency in songwriting. I listen to a song and I'm like, why doesn't that sound like a really great breakdown from like a Queens of the Stone Age song, or a bridge from Foo Fighters song, or whatever? Oh, why does this not sound like Zeppelin? I'm trying to shoot a Zeppelin vibe into this, right? That's like a crazy high bar to shoot at, right? And when I look at that and I think, man, how am I going to make it more like that? That's actually not helpful if you are at a position in your developmental process, your skill developing process, where you're not at a level where you can realistically correct to that. right? A lot of us, if we're all honest with ourselves, are kind of like at a skill level wise, at a point where we're like farming XP to spend on skills. We don't have all the skills, right? Because you have all the skills when you do something for a lot of time and you do it on a reflective practice, and you maybe have a teacher or a tutor or whatever. So getting good at things requires you to suck, right? And have input and refine skills. So that can be a huge hurdle when you like set a goal out for yourself and you see somebody who's like a master doing something and you assume, damn, why can't I do that? I suck. What's the point in trying? I've certainly felt that. Curious to hear if you have. But I think something that we really need to like look at, and something that I feel I've been pulled into previously, which has stopped me for years from making music, from years stopped making videos, stopped being creative and expressing myself, was like, what are these expectations on this goal, on this thing I'm trying to do? Like trying to lose weight, right? Like I had a ton of expectations of how that would feel, what that would be like, who I should be when I lose weight. But in reality, I just needed to take a small action in front of me and process the feelings I had around the whole failure thing. So for me, you know, I've been trying to lose weight forever. I'm doing a pretty decent job right now. I've lost a lot of weight. And it's really hard sometimes to not have those expectations float up. When you look online, you see people who are like really jacked and like really hench, and you get this idea. It's easy to, maybe I get spammed with it because I fall into these kind of certain circles, but like spammed with these really kind of rigid ideas of masculinity, maybe these really rigid ideas of what people should be and what people should do. And it's suffocating when you're not that, right? When you feel like, man, like I should be this Giga Chad, I should kill it, I should fit into these boxes. There are lots of shoulds that come up, right? When we have shoulds, we can't course correct because there's a defined set of play here, right? You be jacks, you be rich, and you get women, right? That's the playbook. That's what they say. When in reality, that's not how it works at all for the vast majority of us, because we aren't born rich, right? Pretty much everyone is just a regular person. The majority of people are the norm, right? And we don't have billions. So how can we feel okay with ourselves in that? Because if we can't feel okay with ourselves, how can we like stick with anything long enough to course correct? And we're just dropping it instead. We're like, screw this, I'm not good at this, get rid. And it's an increasingly common problem. I see it a lot more online with the social medias, the TikTok scrollers of the world, the politicos shooting their political rhetoric from the left to the right. Interesting times we live in. And I wanted to remind all of you that all we can really correct is who we are right now. We can only do that by accepting who we are and taking a step. If you suck right now at push-ups, do something now. Go for a walk, lift a weight, lose some weight. Do something. And if that's hard, there are a lot of other feelings to feel before you can even get to doing something. Okay? Because there might be a lot of stuff compacted on that, which certainly was true for me for a very, very long time. Which is why I'm making this video. But I'm going to leave that there for today. That's how you course correct, my wonderful humans. Unless you are alien and you're listening to this, you're also wonderful. I appreciate you. You've been wonderful. I've been Will, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.